At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Good morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist. What's going on here? We got some big changes here with a cooler and unsettled weather pattern moving in here really as early as today, but really it's going to be tomorrow through the rest of the week that we're really going to be looking at this cool and unsettled weather pattern. At times, heavy rain, gusty winds, thunderstorms. Snow levels will be fairly high, though. I'm not expecting it to have huge impacts when we're talking about that overall impact on travel. But it will be quieter for the end of the week, and in particular, as we take you into the weekend. All right, so let's go into your Krueger's Quick Cast. For those of you that are just in a hurry, want to know what to expect here for today. Not a whole lot going on, actually. Let's start with the temperatures. Now, it's not too terribly chilly out there. We're talking about 50, give or take, for the valley. Still quite cold, though, in Alturas, about 28, 37 in Susanville, and you've got upper 40s, even some mid-50s for you along the coast. All right, so out the door this morning, again, a little chilly. Temperatures low 50s for the valley. There's some patchy fog out there, especially some of those mountain and inland valleys. The coast, seeing some overcast skies as well. And then there you can see here, mainly sunny skies to start off the day for Modoc County and the eastern mountains. Now, we have a series of storms over the Pacific. That's what we've got our eyes on, and that's what's going to give us these bigger changes as we go through this week. But again, it's really not, today's not much going on, right? We've got some of the clouds moving in for the north coast. Midday, it's still dry, but by early afternoon, we're starting to see those showers move into the north coast. You can see it's not terribly heavy. There are going to be some pockets and some periods of some moderate rainfall for some of you along the coast. And then that pushes eastward as we go into the evening. And eventually the valley will get in on some of this rain. But you can see this is not a significant line of rain that's moving on through. It's tomorrow, especially late tonight tomorrow, that we're going to start to see those bigger changes begin to take shape. So for today, it's going to be low 70s. It's going to be another gorgeous day for the valley eastward. But what we're going to start to see is increasing clouds for the coast, Trinity County, western Siskiyou County, and eventually that rain moving in through the afternoon and into tonight. Now for tonight, temperatures in the low 50s, low to mid 50s for the valley, 40s. Now notice the temperatures aren't quite as cool. That's because the clouds are moving in, that's because the showers are moving in, and that's going to insulate us and prevent us from getting as cool as we typically do during those clear nights. So looking at the 7-day outlook, there's a lot going on here, right? You can see rain, thunderstorms, PM, overnight. What's going on with all that? Well, we're going to get into that in the deeper dive forecast here in just a bit, because again, there's a lot going on here. But basically, starting tomorrow in particular, everyone's seeing the rain off and on. There's going to be thunderstorms in there. There's going to be gusty winds in there. There's going to be periods of some heavy rainfall, right? But then by the weekend, I think most of us will be looking at drier conditions. All right, so that's a look at your Krueger's Quick Cast. Let's take a look at what's going on out there this morning. Kind of the calm before the storm, right? You look up at the skies, it's clear. You say, well, where are those storms you're talking about? Well, they're on their way. They're just still, off over the Pacific. Take a look at Main Street Chico on Highway 32. It looks like traffic is flowing smoothly there. And there's Highway 99 at Neal Road with our Caltrans camera there. Turning out to be a typical morning there with a lot of traffic through the morning. All right, take a look at Highway 44, Sundown Bridge Drive. Now that we've set our clocks back an hour, we're, getting during this Coffee with Krueger, we can now see things again. the light has certainly come on out. All right, so let's take a look at some other cameras out there. This is looking out at, it's still good. Crescent City. All right, you see the clouds have already started to move in. We got a lot of low clouds. There's some low visibility out there as well this morning. We take a look at Bald Hill West, and what's interesting, you can still see some of the fog kind of lingering out there. Looking out at Soda Ridge, though, we can see here that looking out at, typically we can see Mount Shasta, but some beautiful colors with that sunrise and some breaks in those clouds that we are seeing there. And we take a look at Fort Jones. Look at that, just sucked in with that fog out towards Scott Valley this morning. So if you're in Scott Valley and many of the mountain valleys for, say, Siskiyou and Trinity County in particular, there's most likely going to be some dense fog in some areas. Yeah, Jackie Dixon saying, nice to see the cameras. I agree. And Kimberly is saying, foggy weather here. You'll have to remind me where you are, Kimberly. I can't remember exactly where you are. And then a Jackie saying, good morning from Trinidad. Good morning to you. All right, let's go and take a look at today is Monday. And we have got our Turtle Bay Wonderful World of Animals. And Sharon Clay is going to tell us about this cool program she's involved with or Turtle Bay is involved with the Coleman Fish Hatchery. So kind of interesting learning more about the salmon in this area. Hello everyone, I'm Mike Krueger from Weather NorCal. You're watching Turtle Bay Wonderful World of Animals. We got Sharon Clay from Turtle Bay here, and behind us here, a big thing of glass in an aquarium with fish in it. These are not just fish, they're a certain kind of fish, salmon, right?
That's right. Okay. Well, all fish are not just fish. They're all certain types of fish, Mike.
She's always calling me out. Always, yes, you're right, you're right. You're right.
No, it's okay. So you are correct. These are salmon. And very specifically, these are Chinook salmon. So we usually think of the 5 different types of salmon, but here...
You do. I've never thought of that, but now I do.
Well, if you go to Alaska, they'll tell you all about the 5 different types. Like there's the chum, and there's the pinkies, and there's...
And like only 5? I would think there'd be more.
In North America, I know we have 5.
Okay.
But here in the Sacramento River, we have Chinook. And another name for Chinook are king salmon. So same type of salmon, different name. And what's super special about the salmon here is that we have, so the salmon have different runs. So when we say a run, it's when they're coming up the river to spawn.
Yep.
Okay, so they hatch out up here, way up here, and then they go all the way down the Sacramento River and they dump into the ocean.
Okay.
So it's one of the few types of fish that actually also you have that with your trout where they can live in fresh water and then part of their life in salt water. So they actually adjust so they can live in both types of water. Most fish can either live in fresh water or in salt water. So these are super special that they do that. And they actually live probably 80% if not more of their life in the ocean. And then they come up the rivers to spawn and to lay their eggs spawning and then make their way back down. So every time a group comes up, it's called a run. And so there's 4 runs. There's a spring run, a summer run, a fall, it's a fall run, a late fall run, and a winter run.
Okay.
And so you have the 4 runs. And so most rivers have like 1 run. So it's like we have a winter run, or we have the, late fall run. We have all 4 runs in the Sacramento River. So super, super special that we have them. But why do we have them here at Turtle Bay? That's the big question.
Eventually, right? Is that the plan?
That is correct, because the salmon actually, unfortunately, are threatened, and some of the runs are endangered. So the winter run is endangered, and the other runs are declining all the time.
Oh.
And so this is called a Head Start program. We do this in conjunction with Coleman Fish Hatchery. So they give us these salmon when they're like teeny, teeny, tiny, and then we raise them up. So you can see they're getting quite a bit bigger now. They're like 2 inches, some of them are like 2 inches, some are still quite little, but they're much bigger than they were. And we're gonna do this until late February, sometime in March. So they're gonna be like this big when we release them, and it's gonna give them a head start into the river.
Okay.
So less chance of becoming food, they're hardier, better chance of surviving, because they get this head start. And so there's lots of head start programs with different types of animals and different species, and we're doing this one with Coleman for these Chinook salmon.
I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less from Turtle Bay, and I'm sure you are a big part of this as well. So I think that's great that you're involved in this program, and I'm assuming that we could eventually even probably go to the day that you're going to release them. That would be fun to get that as well.
Absolutely. So last year we had our biggest attended one, and we want people to come out this year. Unfortunately, when we release them, it's usually not the nicest of days, because you want to release them on a rainy day when
okay.
possible, but we still want everybody to come out. It's super fun to watch them all go back into the river, but you're gonna need like umbrellas usually. So that's when we get with like you, and we're like, when's the best chance of this?
There you go, just come to Weather NorCal.
Coleman Fort, that's right. And then Coleman Fish Hatchery, they know when the river's flowing the most.
Okay.
And so that, when it's all churning up and there's the rain, then there's less chance that predators can actually see them. So it gives them a better chance. And we usually release in February or March on a yucky day, and we'll be announcing that to everybody, and they can come out and see it.
Well, that sounds like fun. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, all of them nameless salmon, not just fish, but they are salmon. And thank you, and we will see you next time for another edition of Turtle Bay, Wonderful World of Animals. Once again, I want to thank Grange Co-op for their sponsorship of the
Trey, come help with the dishes.
What?
Something happened there.
The dishes.
I heard.
Forgive me, something happened. And well, we'll have to try that again here. We're going to be, of course, going into what you just saw there here in just a second. Well, I just kind of messed things up, didn't I? Let me go into here. Give me a second here. Let's see here. What do we got going on? There we go. Oh, there we go. Oh, shoot. Okay, well, I'll have to figure this out here. Give me 1 second because I'm not going to be able to find it. I love it when I screw It's Monday. Okay, we'll figure this out, folks. We'll figure this out. Give me 1 second. Oh, man. I hate this. Golly. All right, well, we're going to have to kind of just... I'll figure this out. Darn it. I'm sorry. I just... Ugh. What a day. What a great way to start the day. My goodness. Come on. Come on, Mike. Get your act together. All right. Turtle Bay, Wonderful World of Animals. Once again, I want to thank Grange Co-op for their support and certainly appreciate that. Let's go into, now that I'm completely discombobulated at this point, we're going to figure this out. All right. So, as we get ready to go into our deeper dive forecast, we first of all need to mention our sponsor of Coffee with Krueger in general, and that is Wind River Resort and Casino. At Wind River Resort and Casino, enjoy friendly service, a wide variety of specials and promotions, plus all of your favorite slots and table games. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to talk about the Coffee with Krueger here. And first of all, our headlines. Bigger changes this week. Cooler and unsettled. Heavy rain, gusty winds at times, and quieter by the end of the week. We got a lot to talk about in our deeper dive forecast. And speaking of our deeper dive forecast, we have got a new sponsor. Shasta Hearing Aids is sponsoring the Deep Dive Forecast. So I want to thank them, and I'm super excited to have them on board. So let's, without further ado, hear a word from our Deeper Dive Forecast sponsor, Shasta Hearing Aids. And this may take a second. It is going to take a second. Hold on. We'll get there. Give me a second. Here I'm trying to be all smooth and slick, but I'm not. All right, there it is. No. Yes. Okay. Here we go. Deep Dive Forecast sponsored by Shasta Hearing Aids. Here's a word from our sponsor.
The first time, I just got back from Shasta Hearing Aids, but she doesn't know it yet. What?
Forget it.
Once again, I want to thank Shasta Hearing Aids for their support of Coffee with Krueger and, of course, their support of our Deeper Dive Forecast. Speaking of that, let's get into that Deeper Dive Forecast. And I'm sorry, folks. I try to be as professional as I can, but when you're a one-man band, you get these new things that happen. It kind of breaks away from your normal routine and, well, it's kind of a trial and error type of situation. So I apologize to you, Shasta Hearing Aids, for that little hiccup there, but we'll get it all figured out by tomorrow. What do you say? All right, here's what we got going on here with our temperatures. Upper 40s to about 50. You can see it's definitely on the mild side. 28 degrees for Alturas, 37 degrees for Susanville, upper 40s to low 50s along the coast. All right, so here's what's going on. Let's get into this now. All right, we're going to put all of that junk that just happened behind us. We're really going to get into it here and what we're known here at Weather NorCal. Look at all of these storms that are just lined up and ready to come into Northern California. They're going to bring us rain. We're going to be looking at rain at times, gusty winds, hail, thunderstorms, the works, right? And we're going to be talking about the element of an atmospheric river that will be associated with this. And I can say that because we've got a long barrel, narrow band of moisture right here. You see that? Coming in from the subtropics. That is the definition of an atmospheric river, or some like to refer to it as a Pineapple Express. Doesn't matter what you call it, folks. It's a plentiful moisture heading our way. Now, here's what's interesting. We're going to have to really monitor and track the exact positioning of this line right here. Because on either side of that line, it's dry, but it's really tends to be very wet, really within that narrow band. So you shift it a little bit more to the south, and someone that wasn't expected to see rain will see it, and vice versa, right? So that's really going to be the key to our forecast over the next few days. We're seeing this kind of wobble a little bit back and forth, and here's the reason why. So as we go into this evening, you can see it's pointed right at Northern California. And where we're seeing the heaviest rainfall is going to be, say, the valley northwestward, including parts of Modoc County. Probably not as much for, say, the eastern mountains, but we'll get into that. So we got low pressure here. You see what's happening? As that low pressure dives to the south, we're going to see this go from here and then do this, because what's happening is this. So the low is here to begin with, so it's pointed here. As this shifts to the south, we see this kind of pivot a little bit more to the north. So what we'll see happen is the rain will be fairly heavy for many parts of Northern California, and then that shifts more to the north. And then the storm pushes through as we go into Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. But there you can see, especially late, by the second half of the day on Wednesday, that is now pointed way to our south. We're no longer under the influence of this particular atmospheric river here, but we still have plentiful moisture. And that's why we do expect to see thunderstorms on Wednesday. Then here's another batch of moisture right here that's going to push in sometime late this week, and it's not going to be quite as strong. At least we're not going to have a very strong storm system to really squeeze out a lot of that moisture. But I still think it could bring some decent rainfall, especially for parts of the North Coast. Then by the end of the week, and in particular this weekend, we've got high pressure building in, and that's going to mean drier conditions throughout the weekend. The timing of this may eventually bring us some showers by late Sunday into Monday of next week, but that's a long ways out. Let's get through this week. So this is looking at the atmospheric river impact, and this is the one thing I really like to talk about when we talk about atmospheric rivers, and that is the intensity of it, right? Because when you're in blue, it really doesn't have much of an impact, just some needed rainfall, right? But AR5 is very strong. That's when you start seeing flooding in the works. Here we are looking at least for the coast, okay? So the coast and the coastal range tends to have the biggest impacts from these atmospheric rivers. So you can see here, we're getting pretty much well within that yellow or strong category, and some outlying models want to bring it into even the extreme category. But I'm more kind of focused on this, the yellow. Okay, so that's where we are. We're going to be looking at a strong atmospheric river for the North Coast and those coastal range mountains come Tuesday night into Wednesday, and then it really plummets after that. And anything we see after that will be rather weak. Now, where we see less of an impact typically from these atmospheric rivers is the foothills east of the valley. You see how we're no longer anywhere near yellow or orange, and we're more within the blue and green, indicating a weak to a moderate atmospheric river impacts on the foothills and mountains east of the valley, especially to the northeast. And again, you can see fairly minimal impacts even after that. So it's mainly Tuesday night into Wednesday morning that I think we're going to see the bulk of this. Now tomorrow, and with that, those impacts, coastal range, right? We're seeing also the coast. You've got some heavy rainfall and a marginal risk to see some flash flooding. And with the strong winds coming in from the south, we could see a training effect, or we talk about that convergence zone near the Redding area, and there could be some flooding for some of the foothills east of the valley and even for parts of the North Coast going into your Wednesday. Now, speaking of Wednesday, I think most, if not all, of Northern California will have the potential to see some thunderstorm activity, and that would mean brief periods of heavy rainfall, gusty winds, lightning, hail, the works. So let's walk you through the timing of it all this week. Here you can see by today, 2 p.m., there's a very weak line of showers pushing through the North Coast. So everyone's dry through midday. By early afternoon, we're seeing some lighter showers for the coast. That pushes eastward. This line is fairly weak, as you can see, but as you start seeing yellows in there, there could be some brief periods of moderate rainfall overnight tonight for areas along this line here, and then eventually places like Chico, Corning, Willows getting in on that as well. But then, remember that atmospheric river I was telling you about? This is what I was talking about. You see how they have that sharp line of dry to wet weather. Same thing down to the south. So again, the positioning of this is going to be the key. Who sees the most amount of rainfall during this time frame? But what we're starting to see happen as we go into late tonight, early tomorrow morning, there you can see is pointed really over the center of Northern California. All right, so we go through the morning hours, then it starts to kind of spread northward. That sharp line is right around Chico, Oroville, and then south of that, it's dry. Same thing just to the north of Crescent City, not as wet. But there you can see kind of the heavier rainfall kind of pushing through. This is 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. You see how it's continuing to push to the north. So by midday, Chico, Oroville, Willows, Corning, you'll be looking at mainly dry conditions by midday tomorrow. And then Redding, Red Bluff, some stray showers, but some really good rainfall falling especially out towards western Siskiyou, Del Norte County, and Humboldt. You see how, again, we're kind of starting to see that sharp cutoff of drier weather to wetter weather. This is a prime example of that narrow band of moisture atmospheric river. And many times you hear us talk about the exact positioning of it because that will determine whether or not you see heavy rainfall or not. And that's why it can get a little tricky too, right? Because sometimes it can shift a little bit more to the south or north unexpectedly, and where an area that we didn't think was going to see a lot of rainfall will, and vice versa. So again, you can kind of get, this will kind of give us a general idea. Now 6 p.m. on Tuesday, you really start to see it's mainly pointed to the north and west of the valley at this point. So Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening, pretty dry for a lot of us, but the North Coast, not so much. Now, that cold front will push through. Look at this. This is when we expect to see some of the heaviest amount of rainfall. And you can see by midnight, tomorrow night into Wednesday morning, there's that atmospheric river again. Sharp cutoff of dry, not very wet for places like Chico, but it is coming down. In many areas when a lot of you are sleeping in bed. Now keep in mind, very strong winds in here as well. 3 a.m. on Wednesday, now you can clearly see it's right here. Okay, so that area of low pressure, that cold front pushing through. By 6 a.m. Wednesday, really the main atmospheric river at this point is over here. And behind it is cool and unstable air. And there's going to be a lot of leftover moisture for these thunderstorms to work with, which is why we do expect to see a lot of thunderstorm activity here through the day on Wednesday with those showers and thunderstorms. Now, with the gusty south winds, look at that typical convergence line developing here, mainly around Redding to the north and east. Pretty standard. The positioning of this is not, so it's kind of interesting to see exactly where this ends up as we go into Wednesday. But that line is kind of in place right here through Wednesday afternoon. If that holds true, then we've got the potential for some flooding in some of those areas, some flash flooding actually. But there you can see more scattered showers and thunderstorms really across the board. Doesn't look to be as active though as you head down to the south on Wednesday. Now, Wednesday into Thursday, you see how it's drying out? Thursday through most of the day it's dry, but then we see the next, remember I was showing you on that, where that moisture content is, we're seeing another little push of moisture, but it's mainly going to be impacting the North Coast and even just a little bit to the north. So 6 p.m. Thursday. Now this will kind of push to the south. There's 5 a.m. on Friday. Now I think as this pushes to the southeast, it's going to weaken. But there still will be some showers, I think, for some areas in the valley, eastward as well as we go into Friday afternoon. And then we're probably going to be done by Saturday and Sunday. So the overall rainfall amounts, as you can see here, this is where we typically see the most amount of rainfall. And, you know, overall, to kind of give you a general idea, yes, I think most of the rain will be at the north end of the valley and we tend to get shadowed down to the south. Places like Corning, Willows, and even Chico tends to get shadowed as well. But then we see it kind of revigorate itself. That is the flow moving up those mountains into the foothills east of the valley. You see another kind of round of some heavier rainfall there, but then typically we get shadowed here in Modoc, Lassen, and even parts of eastern Plumas County as well. This is just looking at a different forecast model through Wednesday, and again, you can kind of see that horseshoe right here, where we typically see less rain down to the south. This might be overdoing it here through Wednesday, we'll see, but then you can see the smaller amounts of rainfall off to the east, heaviest to the north and west. Typical footprint of rain that we see with these types of atmospheric river events. All right, snow, it's going to be high, probably 6,000 feet or higher. So some of the higher mountain passes may be impacted, like for example, Cedar Pass, maybe some of the higher passes in the eastern mountains, but most likely you're going to have to go to 6,000 feet or higher before you really start seeing any snow. Check this out though, Upper Ski Park may see upwards of 6 inches of snow once all is said and done through Thursday night. Now let's talk about the winds, because we do have a wind advisory for tomorrow night through Wednesday and a high wind watch for Tuesday through Wednesday for Del Norte and Humboldt counties. We're talking gusts 50, 60, 70 miles per hour. Down trees, power outages are certainly going to be a possibility. Let's take a look at the timing of those winds. Again, a little gusty at times here today and even into tomorrow morning, but really the main event with the winds will be tomorrow night. Look at this. This is Wednesday at midnight. So late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, very gusty winds. Look at that. Crescent City upwards of 50 miles per hour. Then we go into 3 a.m. on Wednesday. This is when a lot of you are sleeping in bed, and you're going to hear those winds howling Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Very strong winds. Power outages are a very good possibility. And then 6 a.m. on Wednesday, very strong winds off to the east. Then we go through the day on Wednesday, gusty winds associated with the thunderstorms. But then we'll start to see those winds subside as we go into your Thursday. But then with that next system coming in, at least for the North Coast, you can see some of the gusty winds that we'll see for some of those mountain ridge tops. But the main event with the winds will be Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and then slowly subsiding through the day on Wednesday. Look at the temperatures. Beautiful for your Monday, right? But we're talking low to even mid 60s by Tuesday through Friday. And then we're right around that upper 60 to low 70s mark here through the weekend going into early next week. Taking a look at your lake levels, there you can see out towards Shasta, Trinity Lake, and Lake Oroville, really not much of a drop over the last 24 hours. We're getting uncomfortably close to just being at 100%, but the lakes do feel and look low, but they're not, at least for this time of the year. We are above average in most cases here for this time of the year. The wave heights have certainly increased a little bit here today, and we'll probably see that again here for tomorrow as well. As a result, there is a small craft advisory here for today. Otherwise, those south winds at about 20 to 25 knots, waves from the southwest at 5 feet at 9 seconds, and from the northwest at 7 feet at about 13 seconds. All right, here's your neighborhood forecast, sponsored in part by Dignity Health. Trinity County, you'll be looking at temperatures probably somewhere in the upper 60s to low 70s. A lot going on in that 7-day forecast. We talked about the timing of when all that's going to be here, so just kind of bear that in mind. And when you look at the 7-day forecast, but there you can see temperatures for today generally in the low 60s. For your Dignity Health North Coast neighborhood forecast, you'll be looking at showers coming in this afternoon. Everyone, Del Norte, Humboldt counties, inland coast, 65 degrees in Fortuna, 64 degrees in Hydesville. We take you up north, 65 degrees for Trinidad, 64 in Eureka, Blue Lake about 65. Even farther to the north, about 65 degrees for Smith River and 67 degrees in Orleans. Your Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast for Siskiyou County. Temperatures are going to be the mid to upper 60s for the Highway 96 corridor. I-5, you're talking temperatures in the mid 60s for today. And for Scott Valley, showers probably coming in sometime late afternoon, early evening, with low 60s for your daytime highs today. Central Eastern Siskiyou County, probably closer to the late afternoon, evening before you start seeing any showers moving on in, but it's not really until tonight that, say, Modoc County, for example, will see any activity here, and some thunderstorms possibly on Wednesday. Eastern Mountains, there you can see for your Monday, temperatures low to mid 60s here for Old Station, Hat Creek, 68 degrees for Paynes Creek. We take you down towards Lake Elminor and Lassen Park. For the lake, temperatures generally in the low to mid 60s for your daytime highs. Today and down to the south, Paradise 68 degrees. overnight showers overnight, and then a T below that. It looks like the spacing of that column there isn't big enough, but you get the idea. Overnight showers on Monday. Take a look at the Valley to the south, sponsored by Dignity Health. Low 70s for your daytime highs today. So yeah, it's going to be a pleasant day temperature-wise. And looking at your 7-day forecast, a little wet for your voting day, but you know, it's going to be mainly in the morning, by the afternoon, and really even by late morning. Chico, you'll dry out with the heavy rainfall coming in Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, and that chance for thunderstorms. Up to the north, city of Shasta Lake about 70, Redding about 72, as well as Palisadro and Cottonwood about 72 degrees. Here's your 7-day forecast for Redding. I've got those temperatures somewhere in the low 60s for your Tuesday, Wednesday, and of course those thunderstorms entering the picture as well. There you can see we've got that chance for showers possibly on Friday. Really the main event, Tuesday night and a Wednesday. And then looks like we'll see a break on Thursday. Another chance for showers on Friday, but nothing terribly heavy. And we're finally breaking away from this here by the time we do get into the weekend. So yeah, there you go. That is a look at the forecast. It's going to get very active out there. And that's why it's very important that you go to a reliable source that you trust, such as me here at Weather NorCal. And I'm going to keep you certainly updated here throughout all of this. All right, so I'm going to take a look at some of your comments, see if there's any questions here. Kimberly, you're saying it's foggy there in Lewiston. Okay, so yeah, there you go. That helps. Let's see here. What do we got here coming in from Curtis Burn? Nice segment. My kind of story being in fish. Oh, but you're a fish biologist. Very cool. We have some other species once in a while, very small numbers. Oh, you were a production manager. Very cool. Well, that was fun. Fun little report for you. We got Kimberly saying she's got the Monday blues. It's Monday. I can give myself some grace. Thank you, Jackie. The coast, yeah, definitely. I would say the coast has a very good chance of seeing some power outages. These winds are going to be gusting upwards of 60 plus miles per hour. So you're talking 50 to 70 miles per hour, a very good possibility. I mean, winds that strong, you're talking about down trees, you're talking about broken branches, down power lines. That could be an issue. And for the valley, even though the winds won't be as strong, we're talking 30 to 50 miles per hour. That also leads to the potential for everything I just kind of listed for the coast as well. So power outages are going to be a concern here, especially for Tuesday night, tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. It's going to be one of those things where a lot of you are going to be sleeping in bed. So I will probably have to kind of make it a late night for myself and just really trying to keep an eye on things as we go into those overnight hours. So it should be interesting here. But yeah, thank you for that report. And of course, just kind of that insight all in all. So yeah, just keep it right here. Remember, you can always check weathernorcal.com. You can always check the free Weather NorCal app. You can always check social media, Facebook and Instagram. And you can always go to YouTube. Anywhere YouTube is available, including your smart TV. You've got the 24-hour streaming channel. Do 3 weather updates a day. So you can always check 6 a.m., noon, and 6 p.m. All kinds of great information in there for you as well. Let's go and take a look at some of the cameras as we start kind of wrapping up the show here this morning. And there you can see we are looking at Soto Ridge, turning out to be a gorgeous shot there. We're going to leave you with that. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow morning right here on Coffee with Krueger at 6:30. And we'll have our act together with our new sponsor. Again, very excited to have Shasta Hearing Aids on board. And we're going to make sure that we give them the proper introduction to their ad, if you will, and it's not all messed up and jacked up in the works, but we'll get to it. We'll get it. It's going to be great. There you go, folks. Have yourselves a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.